It basically started out in 17 where people wanted to meet up and just talk, right? So it started out as an underground movement where people met up at bars where you could pay with crypto, talked about that. And throughout the 7 years it existed, there have been hundreds of volunteers going through NBA. Some of them are still here, some of them taking a couple of years off and then they're back again. And I think like overall what we're fighting for is basically to have a platform where you can talk about the technology and the opportunities. Our mission vision is a little bit about like we really believe that blockchain, not Web 3.0, but blockchain with the transparency and accountabilities are aligned with some Nordic values. We think, I mean, in a democracy, you need to have transparency, you need to be able to trust the system. So we think some of the original reasons why blockchain started out, that's some of the values that we wanna pass on. And for us, we want to make sure that people are educated towards it. We want to make sure that everyone understands the opportunities. So what we're here for is try to unite the Nordic ecosystem together. And we want to combine that with basically bridging towards the rest of the world. So we both, from a Nordic perspective, can have a good entry point with the rest of the world, and the rest of the world can see what we're doing here in the Nordics. So that's kind of like the short intro of Nordic Blockchain Association.
But a lot of people outside of the space, even also in the Nordics, they will say that this is a space troubled with fraud and speculation. So how can you argue that this is in line with Nordic and Scandinavian values?
I mean, I love that question because, I mean, if you look at it, at least the way that we're looking at, or I'm looking at it, is token where a lot of the bad things have actually happened. It's just one use case out of blockchain, right? So I think, first of all, it's important to understand and have open discussion about this. So it's important to say technology in supply chain or technology in sustainability, ESG or carbon footprint. There is often not a tradable token. So first of all, it's just a fragment part of what the technology can do where the fraud actually happened. And I think as well, two other quite important parts that is in a lot of the case that have been here is bad actors. So basically people doing fraud have nothing to do with the technology. I think the second part, which is like really important to understand as well, we've got a great Nordic company called Chainalysis who are looking into fraud with FBI and a lot of the bigger international institution. And you can actually trace a lot of things that's going on in blockchain. So we don't want to be naive and say stuff is not going on, but we really believe that this is just a fraction of what the technology can do. And we actually think with the inherent in the technology, with transparency and accountabilities, we have seen a lot of fraud situation where people can't get the money out. I mean, there was just that Hollywood part, like the rappers where they took quite a lot of money, like 8 years ago, they couldn't get the money out. So I still think there's in some of these bad situations, there's quite some good cases. And then, I mean, for the startup world, just think about Silicon Valley Bank. I mean, what happened there was not a scam, or at least it doesn't seem like it, but that have a tremendous effect on the startup ecosystem, right? So I think it's important to state that something is going on, but have a look at Chainalysis reports. It's actually going in the right direction.
You're based in Copenhagen or in Denmark, while your name is Nordic. Are we part of your mission?
Without a doubt. So when it started out 7 years ago, there was a lot of interaction, and primarily that was going on in the student, startup, and university environment. So we were quite active in all the Nordic countries, and that's why the name Nordic Blockchain arose. But as with everything, universities and startup, they tend to move on. So for the last couple of years, we haven't been that active yet, but it is for sure within our mission vision because we want to be Nordic. So already this year, we have already have event in Oslo, Stockholm, and Helsinki. And we as well now engaged with teams on ground. So in Helsinki, we've got a really engaged team. And as well, we're looking to find really strong partners in Sweden and Norway because, I mean, we know we are a lot centered around Copenhagen, but that's because that's where a lot of the volunteers are and where I am as well. But we really want to make sure we make this a Nordic. I mean, if we look into our history, there's just some borders right now, but I mean, they've been changing throughout history. So we see us as one united